Good morning, and thanks for waking up with us today. I've got a very interesting lady here in the studio today. I've got Cindy Moskovitz. She's a photographer and a publisher and a denizen of 30A.
Yes.
It's so good to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
I know we exchanged emails back and forth, and you told me about this great book that you've published, this 30A, or Sunsets of 30A, and just thumbing through this thing, I'm looking at these fabulous photographs. Now, we're very blessed to live here, aren't we?
Yes, we are. It's amazing.
And now, not all these images are yours.
No, most are not. Most are not.
Uh-huh. And how did you come across all this? I mean, what gave you the idea of putting this all in one book?
So it's really an interesting story. So my husband and I bought a home here down on 30A in 2009, and of course, part of the experience for me anyway, I go to the Sunset every night, get on my bike, take my phone, so have phone, have camera all the time.
Yeah.
So I'd snap a picture and end up posting it on Facebook.
I know, I do that too.
Right.
And I live on a lake, and people are tired of seeing my lake. They're like, all right.
Enough already.
Yeah, enough, all right. Enough of your lake scenes, yeah. But you've got these beautiful sunsets.
Yeah, and so I would post them on Facebook and then would see other people's images on Facebook. And my husband and I have always collected photography and loved and appreciated photography. And when we bought our home, we started buying images from local photographers. And as I was getting some Facebook images.
What were you doing with those images? Were you
hanging them in the house?
Hanging them up?
Yeah. And I got to meet a few of the locals, and I thought, there's some just amazing talent around, and some of them are just not getting exposure.
And no pun intended.
Literally,
oh,
yeah.
Pun intended.
That's right, pun
now, these
intended.
amateur photographers we're
well,
talking about?
both.
Or a mix
So what I wanted to do was put a book together that did a exposure of all these photographers, local and tourist photographers. So I did a call for entries through a Facebook page and putting posters up and down 30A in a lot of the stores.
So it's just like, hey, putting a book together, you want to be part of it.
No, it was that simple.
Yeah.
So we let each person submit up to 3 images. They had to be taken along 30A. And we started that in the middle of October and did it through the middle of January.
What was the response? I mean, did you get thousands of pictures?
I got over 700 amazing images.
Holy mackerel.
And I would say out of all of them, maybe 20 were throwaways. The rest were just fantastic.
I mean, how do you decide?
It was not easy. So one of the things about the project that I really wanted to do was keep it local. So I hired a local designer, Colleen Duffley Productions. And she's also an international photographer, so she had the eye as well as the design ability. And then I used Boyd Printing in Panama City for my printer, because I really wanted it to be a local.
No charge for that plug there, Boyd Brothers.
I really wanted to keep it all local.
Yeah, that's great.
And then so between Colleen and I and her assistant, we went through
came
all
up
the
with this
images.
great book. We've got to run off to the local weather right now, but on the other side of that, I want to kind of drill down into this book a little bit and talk more about some of the images and the people that helped you make this come together into the beautiful piece of work that it is right here. And we'll be right back after your local weather, brought to you by the West Pittman Law Firm, westpittmanlawfirm.com. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Cindy Moskovitz, who is the publisher of a wonderful new book. Well, I don't know how new it is. Maybe it's
pretty
been
new.
Around. A new book called Sunsets of 30A.
Well, the book came out the Memorial Day weekend, and
so it is kind of new.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. And of course, my goal was to get it ready for tourist season, and it's done very well. It's carried in 28 stores up and down 30A.
Naturally.
Yeah. And I've done a couple book signings in Hidden Lantern in Rosemary Beach and Sundog and Seaside. It's in some other outlying cities as well. I'm from Nashville, so it's in Nashville. It's in Montgomery. It's in Birmingham and Atlanta and Dallas. And
so the response has been good.
Yes, it's been really wonderful. And the biggest upside for me, besides literally, printing the book and getting it out there, is to have met now so many of the photographers, because for so long our interaction was just by email, And then, because I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of them, it's just been so heartwarming.
So so the response to the book has been good.
Yes,
it sounds
really
like.
good.
And we were talking before the interview about how this is like the perfect coffee table book for any condo on 30A. Your condo on 30A is not complete without this book.
Well, what's great about it is every little beach town up and down 30A, I think there's literally 16 of them, are represented with sunsets. The coastal dune lakes are represented. And there's such a variety of skies, from stormy skies to, the perfect drop into the water to architectural shots. And so we had quite a mission to
try
go
and capture
through
that whole vibe,
right.
In a book. So you have these 700 entries.
Right.
How do you pick? I'm sure they were all beautiful. For the
Well,
most
they
part.
were, and so we did want to make sure that we did represent all the beach communities and the variety of skies.
So that's how you kind of triaged all that.
Yeah, and what's great is the way I kind of say it is, when you go to a potluck dinner and you end up, nobody's been assigned anything, but somehow it all works out. You got the right amount of dessert and drinks and vegetables. This is what happened. We had the perfect selection of a variety of sunsets, colors, beach communities,
now,
people
Cindy,
from 15 states, actually.
If somebody wants to get this book and maybe they don't live on 38, how do we get it?
From my website,
Okay.
sunsetsof30a.com.
Sunsetsof30a.com, very cryptic.
Yeah.
Cindy Moskovitz, we are so out of time, it's not funny, but thank you so much for coming on the show
Thank you so
and
much.
sharing this beautiful book with us, and good
you.
luck to you.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be right back after your Mad Hatter Minute.
Hi, I'm David Lovett, and this is your Mad Hatter Minute. Almost all vehicles on the road today have a power braking system. The power brake system helps provide braking power so you don't have to do all the work with your legs and the brake pedal. The brakes themselves are applied at the wheel using hydraulic pressure. When we step on the brake pedal, we create pressure in the power booster that is multiplied by vacuum from the engine. The resultant pressure pushes brake fluid through the master cylinder into tubes and hoses that run to the brake at each wheel. If there's a problem with the power brake booster, your pedal usually gets extremely hard due to the lack of vacuum coming from the engine. If your pedal gets extremely soft or gets extremely mushy, that's an indication of another problem, usually a hydraulic leak. A leak gives pressurized fluid somewhere to go other than to the brakes, so stopping power is reduced. Lose enough fluid and you can't stop at all. Of course, that can be very dangerous. Brake fluid also attracts moisture, which can lead to rust. Not a good thing for anti-lock brake systems. Also, water into the limes can be heated and create steam. When you create the steam, the hydraulic pressure is reduced and your braking power is reduced as well. If you haven't had your brake fluid changed in a number of years, you might want to consider that. A final word, make sure you use the recommended brake fluid for your vehicle. Using the wrong type of brake fluid can result in total failure of the braking system. I'm David Lovett, and that has been your Mad Hatter Minute.
Hey folks, this is Joshua Brown with Mad Hatter on 23rd Street. Is your check engine light on? If it is, text MADHAT28, that's MADHAT28, to 24247 and we'll check it for free.
Here we are in the middle of the show, and welcome back. You told me to say that, right, Jeff? We've got Heather Noyes here from Raymond James Financial. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, you've got some financial advice for us about market volatility?
Absolutely.
What exactly is market volatility?
Well, market volatility is the price changes that the market experiences on a day-to-day basis, or month-to-month basis, or year-over-year basis, depending. And I thought I would share with you some ideas of how you can reduce the amount of volatility in your own personal account in lieu of what's going on in the markets.
Okay, so say I'm not a very sophisticated investor. You know, maybe I've got a little 401 or something. What can I do to protect myself?
Well, one of the simplest things that you can do is use a strategy that's called dollar cost averaging. And then that's making systematic investments on a regular basis. So determining an amount that you're comfortable investing and doing that on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis or a weekly basis, whatever you're most comfortable with. And by doing that, whatever you're buying, whether it's a mutual fund or a stock, you typically you're taking advantage of downturns in the market and buying less shares on the up whenever the market's up. You're buying more shares when the market's down. So in the end, you actually end up with more shares at a lower cost.
Than trying to, track that and buy and, like instead of saying, hey, I'm going to buy the same amount of shares every month, you could lose money doing that.
Absolutely.
But if you dollar cost average and say, I'm going to spend, say, $100 a month in this particular fund, no matter what the market does, I'll be fine in the final equation, won't I?
Right. And even if you have a lump sum of money, instead of just going, putting all of it in at one time, you can also piece that money out as well, and again, take advantage of downturns in the market.
Now, if people don't have a 401, what can they do to get one? How do you get started? And when should you start?
Well, you should start it as soon as possible.
As soon as you start your working life.
Exactly. As soon as possible, you should start. An easy way to start is with a mutual fund, which a diversified mutual fund is also going to help reduce some risk because it spreads your money across maybe 100 to 200 different companies, so you don't have all of your eggs in one basket. You're not buying just one company. So that also can help reduce risk, and you add dollar cost averaging to that is going to help in two ways to help reduce volatility.
So you're a young person just starting out. I mean, there's a lot of choices out there. If you're a young person, you Google up mutual funds, you'll probably get 1 million hits. And and how do you pick one? How do you know? Besides calling Raymond James Financial.
Typically, you want to meet with an advisor and have a professional to give you some guidance in that area. Most mutual funds, if you're starting out, you can start out with as little as $1,000, and then you can even do as little as $50 a month, let's say, into a mutual fund on a monthly basis as well. So they're pretty easy to get you started.
Yeah, and who can't afford $50 a month to get started?
Right.
Even if you're young, 20-something, young, fabulous, and broke, you can do that.
And certainly, if there's a 401k available at work, wherever they're working, they should take advantage of that and the matching that the company may provide.
And that's huge, because starting early, as we all know, there's no substitute for time.
Right.
And then if you get a match from your company, you really want to maximize that, don't you?
That's free money.
It is
It's a
free
pay
money.
raise.
I mean, truly free money. Not that you'll get to use it right away, but you've got to exercise some sort of discipline when it comes to that. Because I've known people who have come upon rough times and have cashed out their IRAs. And it's like, God, what are you thinking? Well, I had to. Well, it's got to be another way sometimes, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's probably one of the worst things you can do, is you're going to pay penalties plus ordinary income taxes. So if you cash out the whole thing, that could potentially also put you in to a higher tax bracket. So you're just giving the IRS a early gift or birthday present or whatever you want to call it.
Now, if people want to get in touch with you as a financial advisor, how do we do that?
Call me at my office at 785-9614.
Heather Noyes from Raymond James Financial, thank you so much for coming on the show and getting us smart on dollar cost averaging. Do it. You need it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with a very interesting friend of mine by the name of Jean McDougall. Jean is a scuba diver, and she's been doing it her whole life. Haven't you, Jean?
27 years.
27 years. And that's odd because you're only, 24 years old? That's crazy. How does that work?
I know, right?
But, we kid about your diving and your diving experiences. You've been doing it your whole life. You've recently had kind of a scary experience, haven't you?
Yes, it was a very scary experience. I had decompression sickness.
Which is popularly known as the bends.
The bends,
yeah.
correct. And it was a very rare one because it was a lymphatic hit, and it was because I had a pulled
hit.
Yes,
I guess that's diver jargon.
Diver jargon, yes, absolutely. And so what had happened was, because I had had a pulled muscle and I was unaware of it, your body cannot off gas as quick.
Just so I understand, what exactly, because I'm a slow learner, what exactly is the bends? It's like nitrogen bubbles or something like that?
It is nitrogen bubbles that get trapped into either the tissue or the bloodstream. And so when you come up, if you have not off-gassed and gotten rid of the nitrogen and a bubble gets trapped, that's where you begin to have problems.
And when you say off gas, that means you
Gotten
acclimate
rid of it.
slowly,
Yes,
you get rid of those
you've
gases.
gotten rid of it, yes, because you build up the nitrogen as you go through the different atmospheres, and you're down on bottom and working very hard.
I would imagine that could be a life-threatening condition.
Oh,
couldn't it?
absolutely.
I mean, that could kill you. I mean, a bubble in your blood like that hits your brain. I mean,
Yes,
good
and
grief.
the scary part is the neurological hits that people have, because then you have complete paralysis, and you can't move your body. You can't.
Yeah.
You get gimped up and
Yeah.
can't do
good
anything
grief.
about it. Yeah.
So for such a seasoned diver, someone who's been diving longer than she's been alive, how does that happen? I mean,
Well, there are a lot of different ways that things like that can happen. But like I said, with this one being so rare, it was a hit in the lymphatic system.
I mean, did you do something wrong, or were the conditions such that?
Well, no, we were diving
I mean-
within limits, and it was just something I was unaware of. And when we came up to the surface, I immediately felt a pain. And they were saying, that doesn't normally sound like, the bends being hit. Normally it's in your joints, but mine was back here. And so they kept saying, well, maybe you just had a pulled muscle. You're working really hard down there, so, maybe that's what it is.
So here
Well,
you are, a seasoned diver. You get
Yeah.
this pain, and you're not sure what it is. Did you think right away, oh, I've got the bends, or just it's such an unusual case you thought it was a pulled muscle?
Yeah, well, everything crosses your mind when you're diving because, you have to be aware. And what happened was the pain started to get worse. And then it started to move. It started to move up the arm and down the arm. And so we said, we're going to go ahead and go in. And the first thing that a diver should do is immediately get on oxygen, because the oxygen will help. Yes.
Hey, Jean, we've got to run off to a break, but on the
Okay.
other side, I want to talk about the remedy for the bends
Sure.
and your personal experience in trying to get, what'd you call it? Off-gassed? Or decompressed or whatever.
Decompressed. Recompression.
Recompression.
Yes, recompression, yes.
All right, we'll be right back with Jean McDougall after these messages. Thanks for waking up with us this morning. I'm here with Jean McDougall, and we're talking about some of her diving adventures and her accident that she recently had. But first, I got to talk about this thing. You brought this in, and this is just a beautiful shell.
Yes.
I mean, this is something you actually pulled out of our Gulf.
I did.
Wow.
And had to clean it. A lot
And
of
had to
cleaning
clean
goes
it,
into
but
yes.
it's just gorgeous. And
Thank
this
you.
is called a lion's paw.
Lion's paw.
Is that what you called it?
Yes.
Wow. And these are very collectible, I would imagine,
They are.
and pretty expensive.
They can be, yes.
I'll try not to drop it. I will put it down very, very gently next to his little lion paw brother here. So at any rate, in the last part of the interview, we talked about how you had a case of the bends.
Yes.
But it was in a muscle, like
Yes.
in a lymphatic system, I think
Yes,
is
the
what you
limb is
said?
very rare. Out of the 15 years that the people that ended up treating me, they had never seen it before.
So what's the remedy for that? You go to a chamber, I
You
would
go
imagine?
into a chamber. It's a decompression chamber where they're recompressing you.
Right.
And so you have anywhere from 4.5 to 6.5 hours that you're in there, and they pull you back down like you're doing a dive.
Right.
And then they bring you up very slowly. And
Okay.
it just takes time.
So there's chambers in the area, correct? In local hospitals,
There
things
are
like that?
about 5 chambers in the Panhandle. And what I ran into was when I went to Bay Medical, as they have a facility and a working facility, and they even advertise it on their website, they said they were not going to treat me. And so they said the closest was going to be Mobile, Alabama.
Why would that be? Why would they not treat somebody in need? I mean, they've got the chamber, and you're.
They will say that there's not enough accidents to warrant staffing it 24/7.
No, well, good
But
grief.
I know within the last month there's been 6 coming out of the Panhandle.
So here you are. You've got this condition, which is potentially life-threatening.
Absolutely.
And what do you do from there?
Well, from that point on, they wanted to air evac me out, but because of weather, they could not. So I had a 3.5-hour ambulance ride all the way to Mobile, Alabama.
Wow.
And so the protocol is once you get to the ER, if you have a dive accident, they want you in the chamber within 45 minutes.
But you 3.5 hours later.
Well, I was
or even longer than-
24 hours later because the first ER trip, they sent me home.
Oh, okay.
And when I came back and said, this is not getting better, I would like a referral, then that's when they said, we're going to go ahead and ship you off.
Well, Jean, we're running out of time. We've got about 30 seconds left, but you know, we're glad you're obviously okay.
Yes, I am.
But you did make it out to Mobile.
I did.
You did get decompressed. I mean, what happens next? I mean, what happens to other divers that are out there that may have this happen to them?
Well, they're going to either have to go to Mobile, Alabama to Spring Hill Medical, or possibly Orlando.
Wow,
or
geez.
maybe we can put enough pressure on the local areas and they'll open up some chambers.
Or maybe
around
some
here.
enterprising dive shop or doctor or a combination thereof will open up a chamber.
Absolutely,
just
that would
for
be
this type
wonderful.
of use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Especially since we invite people to come and dive in our areas.
Yeah, we're so glad you're okay and survived
Me
all this
too.
craziness.
Me too.
But you got to be careful out there. It's a dangerous sport, no matter how experienced you are.
Yes, absolutely. You're true.
Thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thank you, Don.
And we'll see you guys next time.